At Christmas dinner, my mom shouted, "Your job is to work hard so your little sister can live comfortably. If you say no, this family won't have your name in it anymore." I looked her straight in the eye and said, "Fine, I'll leave. And you can start handling everything yourself." But before I continue, hit the subscribe button and tell me where you watching this from, and what time of day is it? Hi, my name is Aloan. I am 26 years old. For as long as I can remember, I have always been the responsible one in my family. I stayed late at our handmade wooden toy workshop in Vermont, fixing broken machines, sorting out orders, and making sure everything ran smoothly. I did all the hard work behind the scenes while my parents focused on other things. My little sister, Zephra, got all the attention and help she wanted to build her career online on Instagram and TikTok. She became famous quickly and everyone seemed to cheer for her. That night at Christmas, my mom spoke very clearly about what she thought I should do. There was no sugarcoating, no pretending. Everything I had been keeping inside came out all at once. I made a big decision right there. I stood up and walked away from the life I had been holding up for years. After that, a lot of surprising things happened. I learned about favoritism in my family, secrets about money, and problems I never expected. The drama got bigger fast and changed everything for all of us. That Christmas Eve, our family home in Vermont looked perfect for the holidays. Snow was falling softly outside the windows. The Christmas tree lights twinkled in the corner, and the table was full of turkey, mashed sweet potatoes, green beans, cranberry sauce, and a fresh salad in the middle. Mom had decorated everything beautifully. There were fancy plates, candles, and little ornaments everywhere. Dad was happy, carving the turkey carefully. Zephra sat there in a new sweater that probably cost more than a whole week of our workshop supplies. She came a little late, scrolling on her phone, not helping with cooking or setting the table. She just walked in and sat down like she was the most important person there. Mom raised her glass. "To Zephra," she said happily. "You reached a new follower milestone and might get a big deal with a cosmetics brand. You're building something amazing." Dad nodded. "Yes, companies are reaching out to her. She has real talent." Zephyr smiled. "Thanks, guys. My channel is growing fast. This deal could bring many new opportunities, maybe even a trip for filming videos." They all clinked glasses looking at her. I sat quietly with my fork, listening. I had been at the workshop since early morning, finishing last-minute orders and making sure everything shipped before Christmas. A few days earlier, I had received some exciting news. A big national toy store wanted to sell our handmade wooden toys next holiday season. It could mean thousands of toys sold if we delivered everything on time. It would have been a huge boost for the workshop and for our family business. I waited for a pause in the conversation and said, "Hey, I have some good news too. I got a letter from that big toy store. They are serious about stocking our toys next year. It could be a huge order for the workshop." Mom glanced at me briefly, then looked back at Zephra. Dad kept carving. The table went quiet, but no one asked me for details. Mom said, "Aloan, you were born to handle the workshop so Zephra can focus on her future. That's just how it works. Some people build the foundation, others shine on top." Dad added, "Zephra has real talent online. You're better at practical work, keeping things running smoothly." Zephra kept looking at her phone, barely noticing me. My heart sank. Everything I had done for years, working late nights, fixing machines, making popular toys, negotiating with suppliers, didn't matter at all. I put down my fork slowly. The room felt heavy. Mom said, "We've supported you with the business and now it's your turn to support Zephra's growth. That's family." I stared at my plate, feeling angry. Then I looked at Zephra, who was still smiling and waiting for her next praise. I stood up, my chair scraping the floor. I unclipped my wallet, which held my personal cards and the company card I had used for supplies and emergencies for years. I held it over the table and then gently dropped it into the big salad bowl. Dressing splashed a little on the edge. The room went silent. Mom looked confused. "What are you doing?" she asked. I met her eyes. "From now on, I'm done. You handle it." Dad started, "Aloan, sit down. This isn't the time." But I grabbed my coat. Zephra finally looked up from her phone, surprised. I walked to the door, boots on, keys in hand. Outside, snow was falling steadily and the driveway lights glowed softly. I got in my truck, started it, and drove away without looking back. 30 minutes later, I pulled into a small apartment I had secretly rented for 18 months. My parents thought I still lived in the guest room above the workshop. The apartment was simple. One bedroom, a tiny kitchen, quiet. I had paid for it with money from side jobs I did on weekends. They didn't know I had saved money instead of spending it on more workshop upgrades. I hung up my coat, sat on the couch and let the silence sink in. My phone started vibrating with calls and messages, but I didn't check them. For the first time in years I felt lighter. I made a cup of tea, watched the snow and went to bed early. I slept through the night with no interruptions. After getting home I opened my laptop and checked the bank app first. For the past 4 years, I had been sending $2,800 every month to my parents' rental. They had said it was temporary, but it became permanent, freeing up money for the workshop. I clicked the button to stop the transfer. Done. Next, I went to the Vermont Business Registry website. I had planned this carefully for months. As the managing member of the company, I could make changes. I filled out the forms to remove myself from the business and make my dad the official contact. It took about 20 minutes, but I double-checked everything, signed and sent it. The state confirmed it was done immediately. Finally, I logged into the business bank account. I calculated my part of the profits and transferred it to my personal account. It was only what was fair. The rest of the money would cover the bills until my family adjusted. I shut the laptop and went to bed. No emergencies, no one pulling me back. Morning came quietly on Christmas Day. I made coffee, checked emails from freelance clients, and started working on a new wooden puzzle design. That's when the phone lit up. First a missed call from Mom at 9 a.m., then Dad. By noon the messages kept coming. Mom led with anger. "Call me now. What you did last night was childish." Dad said, "Come back today. We need to talk to you." Zephyr texted, "You ruined Christmas." I left the phone face down on the counter and kept working. The next day even more calls came. Text changed a little. Mom wrote, "Where are you? At least let us know you're safe." Dad reminded me, "Some bills are due. Access to accounts is needed." Zephyr worried about her sponsored posts. I went to the post office, mailed prototypes to a regular client and got payments on time. Everything worked fine without me helping. By the third day their desperation showed more. Mom had left over 60 voicemails, but I didn't listen. Texts begged me to answer. Dad wrote politely but firmly about accounts and deadlines. Zephyr complained about online deadlines. I focused on my new life. Mornings designing, afternoons making small runs of toys in a rented maker space, evenings checking client feedback and putting my earnings in my account. I didn't respond to anyone. I let the phone stay quiet. Those first days after Christmas felt peaceful. Finally, I had the space I needed for years. I could think, create, and rest without anyone telling me what to do or making me feel small. I even started planning new toy ideas that I had dreamed about for years but never had the time to make. I felt proud of myself for standing up and making my own decisions. For the first time in a long time, I realized I could live my life for me, not just for everyone else. The snow kept falling outside my window, soft and calm, and I felt a quiet happiness I hadn't felt in years. For the first time I was free. I had my own apartment, my own money, and my own work to do. I could finally focus on creating things I loved. I didn't need anyone to approve my ideas. I didn't need anyone to tell me that my hard work didn't matter. I had proved to myself that I could take care of my own life. Even though my parents and Zephyr were upset, I knew I had made the right choice. It wasn't about being mean or starting fights. It was about standing up for myself and my future. I could finally breathe and enjoy the holidays without the heavy weight I had carried for years. That Christmas I learned something very important. Sometimes being brave and saying no to unfair things is the best gift you can give yourself. I had found my own independence and it felt amazing. I knew it would be hard at first, but I also knew I could handle it. After all those years of hard work, I finally got a chance to live my own life. A week or two after Christmas, things at the workshop started going wrong in ways nobody could hide. It was like everything decided to break at the same time. From what I heard later through friends and neighbors, Mom and Dad decided they would try to take charge themselves. Even Zephyr, my sister, helped for a day or two. She posted stories online showing family business vibes for her followers. She smiled in the videos, stacking toys or pretending to help, while the chaos kept happening behind her. But the problems I had been hiding for years came up very fast. The old bandsaw, which I had always taken care of, finally stopped working. I had kept it in good shape with regular oiling, but without me doing it, it seized up completely. The lathe belt snapped in two. The replacement parts one always ordered ahead of time were not there. The dust collection filters got clogged, which made half the machines shut down for safety. Everything seemed to stop at once. Woodstock, our finishing materials, ran out. Dad and Mom tried calling suppliers, but I knew all the right people and what types of wood were best. Without me, the orders came in wrong or very late. Seasonal helpers who came because I sent them texts didn't answer their phones. The holiday break stretched longer and longer. Production stopped completely. Toys that were ordered by customers sat unfinished. Shipping labels weren't printed. Orders piled up. The workshop looked like a messy storm had gone through. Then an email came from the big national toy store. It said they were unhappy because we missed deadlines for the prototype toys, and no one had updated them on what was going on. They were pulling out of our agreement. There were no fines, but they were very sad that the partnership could not happen this year. That hurt me more than I expected. It wasn't just the money we could have made. It was also proof that the business could grow beyond our little town in Vermont. That was something I had worked toward for more than a year. I had hoped the business would expand, and now it is gone. Word spread quickly in our small town. A few regular customers emailed me directly, asking if I could do freelance work for them instead. My family's messages became overwhelming. Mom's texts were full of pleading. The machines are broken. We don't know how to fix them like you do. Please come help us. Dad's messages were bossy and commanding. Get over here now and get production running again. This is your responsibility. You have to fix everything. Some messages were from Zephra, asking for help with her online projects. My big cosmetics collaboration is confirmed, but I need better lighting and props. The account balance looks low. Can you transfer some money quickly? More voicemails piled up. Some I didn't even listen to before I deleted them. Photos came through on my phone showing the workshop. Tools were everywhere, cluttered and messy. Unfinished toys were stacked in piles all over the place. Mom wrote, "We are losing money every day. Think about what you are doing to us." Dad said, "Year-end inventory is a disaster without you. Suppliers are threatening to stop giving us materials. This is serious." Zephyr complained, "Followers are asking why I am not posting new content. This stress is killing my creativity." I read all of these messages during breaks from my own work. I felt a strange mix of emotions. Pride in myself for knowing I had been doing the work, but also distance from the chaos. It was predictable. Years of me covering for my family had hidden the fact that everything depended on me. Now it was clear to everyone except me. I still didn't reply. I didn't pick up calls. I didn't text back. One afternoon I met Turan at our usual spot. A small, quiet cafe in town with good coffee. Turan had been my friend since college. We bonded over design classes, and he was the only person I had told a little about my family tension, though I had never told him the full story. He came in with his laptop bag, ordered his usual black coffee and sat across from me. "You look different. Lighter somehow," he said, smiling. I took a deep breath. I finally told him everything. I told him about leaving the workshop on Christmas Eve. Mom had told me my job was only to support Zephyr forever, no matter what. I told him about the unfair treatment when we were kids. I worked in the workshop from my teens onward, fixing mistakes, handling orders, and managing everything. Zephyr got to have fun online and travel with Mom and Dad always cheering her on. I stayed up late fixing Dad's ordering mistakes, negotiating with suppliers, redesigning popular toys when trends changed. I secretly built freelance clients on the side so I could eventually be free and independent. I rented an apartment, got my papers ready to leave cleanly, and the night I dropped my wallet into the salad at dinner was my line in the sand. I was done. Turan listened quietly, stirring his coffee slowly. He didn't interrupt. "That's heavy," he said. "You've been carrying the whole operation alone." "Pretty much," I said. "And now they're realizing it." He leaned back and asked, "What about all the messages? The ones from your family?" I showed him a few on my phone. Mom's emotional pleas. Dad's strict orders. Zephyr's complaints about her content schedule. He shook his head. "Sounds like the consequences are catching up," he said. "Are you okay with ignoring them?" "Yes," I said. "For the first time, I'm not rushing to fix things. It feels freeing." We talked for a long time about my freelance projects. I told him about ideas for small batch toys I could make on my own. Turan encouraged me and didn't judge. Driving home afterward, I felt light. The desperation from my family felt far away. The workshop problems were theirs now. About 3 weeks after Christmas, I was deep into a freelance project when my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. It said, "Hey Aloan, it's Aunt Seraphine. We need to talk. Can you meet me tomorrow? There's something you need to see." I hadn't heard from Seraphine, Mom's older sister, in years. She moved a couple of hours away after a big fight with Mom when I was in high school. I texted back, "Yes," and we set a time at a roadside diner halfway between us. The next day I drove through snow still thick on the ground. Seraphine was already there, sitting in a back booth, gray hair pulled back into a ponytail with a cardboard box beside her. She stood and hugged me when I walked in. "You've grown up," she said, looking at me closely. "Sit down. Coffee's on me." She pushed the box toward me. "I've been cleaning out old tax files and found things that didn't add up. Your grandpa's estate stuff. Remember he died when you were 23? I nodded slowly. I was the backup executive after he passed. He left the workshop property to Dad, some savings to Mom, and something set aside for you and Zephyra, but nobody ever talked about the details." He tapped the box. "Open it." Inside were folders, bank statements, and a thick accordion file labeled in Grandpa's handwriting for me. I carefully opened it. "Grandpa set up a trust for you in 2022, Seraphine said softly. $180,000 to be released to you when you turned 25 last year. No one else could touch it without your signature." I pulled out the legal papers. My name was on the signature line, official and clear. But the next page showed a withdrawal record from 11 months ago. The signature looked like mine, but it wasn't. It was loopy like Mom's handwriting. Seraphine watched me flip through the pages. "All notification letters were mailed to your parents' address. Mom handled the household mail. He never saw them. I found copies tucked in the file." Another folder had bank records for an account opened in Zephyra's name right before her big European content trip. The deposits matched the trust money, and the receipts showed her flights, hotels, studio rentals. She even posted online about it. "Those expensive trips were funded by money meant for you." I ran the numbers in my head. $180,000 gone in just 1 week. Money that would have helped me buy my own equipment, lease a small space, or start my own projects. Money that Grandpa had set aside for my future. Mom had taken it to fund Zephyra's trip and life abroad. I sat back, hands shaking slightly. Seraphine reached across and squeezed my arm. "I didn't say anything sooner because I wasn't sure you'd believe me over your mom. But after seeing what happened at Christmas, I thought you were ready." I stared at the forged signature again. Everything made sense. The expensive camera lenses Zephyra showed off. The designer clothes. Mom bragged about her while I was still paying the bills and working hard. They hadn't just favored Zephyra. They had taken from me to give to her. I thanked Seraphine and drove home. That night I spread all the documents across my kitchen table. I took photos of each page and backed everything up to the cloud. For the first time since Christmas Eve, my anger felt cold and sharp like ice that would not melt. 2 months later, deep in the cold Vermont winter, I got a call from one of the old workshop helpers. "They're here," he whispered. "Your parents and Zephyra are making a scene." I drove over right away. The parking lot had a few cars and some local customers were looking at what stock was left. Inside, voices echoed off the high ceilings. Mom was in the middle of the showroom, crying and talking loudly. Dad stood beside her, arms crossed, face red. Zephyra was hovering nearby, phone in hand, recording everything. "Aloan has abandoned the family business." Mom shouted. "We're about to lose everything because of her." Some seasonal employees looked uncomfortable, pretending to straighten shelves. A few regular customers shifted nervously by the door. I walked in through the side entrance, coat still on from the drive. They spotted me immediately. Mom rushed toward me. "Finally. Come on. We need you back before it's too late. The bank is calling." Dad added sharply, "This has gone far enough. Fix the accounts and get production running again." Zephyra lowered her phone. "Yeah, seriously. My schedule is all messed up without stable income flow." I stayed calm, standing near the counter. I asked quietly, "You want to do this here?" Mom wiped her eyes. "We have no choice. You won't answer calls." I took a deep breath. Everything felt very clear. I didn't have to jump at their orders anymore. I didn't have to be the one fixing everything. Their chaos was theirs. I took out my phone and opened the photo gallery. There were pictures of papers Seraphine had given me. I held the phone up so the nearest worker and a customer could see clearly. I said in a calm voice, "This is why I left. Last year Mom faked my signature on a trust. Grandpa left that money just for me. $180,000. All of it went to pay for Zephyr's 9-month trip to Europe." I slowly swiped through the pictures. There was the trust document, the page with my fake signature, and bank transfer records showing the money left my account at the same time Zephyr's trip started. People gasped. The worker's eyes got wide. Mom turned pale. "That's private. Turn it off," she shouted. Dad stepped forward. "You're twisting things. That money was for the family." Zephyr stammered. "I earned that trip. People saw my posts online." I kept the phone screen visible. The timestamps match exactly. There's no overlap with real sponsorship payments. A customer whispered to someone and walked away. The atmosphere felt heavy and awkward. People were staring. Nobody said anything at first. I calmly called the non-emergency police line right there and put it on speaker. I explained everything clearly. I told them that Mom had faked my signature and taken money from the trust. I said the worker and customer could be witnesses. An officer arrived in 15 minutes. He asked us all questions. The worker even said on the body camera that Mom raised her voice. The officer photographed the images on my phone and told me to bring the full files to the police station later. Mom and Zephyr left with a warning. They were told not to come back without permission. Over the next months, the investigation moved forward slowly. Detectives requested bank records. Experts looked at handwriting samples and confirmed the signature was fake and matched Mom's handwriting. Lawyers got involved. Mom and Dad's lawyers wanted to settle quickly. My lawyer laid out all the proof clearly. The prosecutor offered a plea deal so there would be no trial. Both Mom and Dad were found guilty of fraud and forgery. They got 2 years of probation, had to do 300 hours of community service, and had to pay back the money. The repayment came from selling their business. The workshop and tools were sold at auction for much less than they were worth. After paying off bank loans and legal fees, I finally got about $110,000 as restitution. I signed the final papers without looking closely. There were no contact orders, which meant I did not have to see or talk to them. The whole process felt very calm and official. There was no yelling or crying, just clear consequences. 20 months later, on a warm Zephyr day in Vermont, I stood in my own small workshop sanding the last piece of a new order. My workshop was small, in a shared building on the edge of town. The sunlight came in through the windows. I had space for a few machines I bought. I named it Paige's Handcrafted Toys, keeping it simple. I didn't use any family name. The business grew slowly but steadily. The restitution money helped pay for tools, startup costs, a small website, and the first trips to local craft fairs. I focused on what I loved: making educational puzzles, rocking horses, and stacking toys from Vermont hardwood. Local craft fairs became a regular part of my schedule. People who knew the old workshop found me through word of mouth or online. Many said they liked the personal touch. Now there were no family dramas to worry about. Orders came in regularly. Schools bought classroom sets. Parents bought birthday gifts. A few small stores stocked my limited toys. Revenue covered bills and even allowed me to save some money. I hired a part-time helper for busy times. They were reliable and liked the fair hours. Life had a rhythm I could control. In the mornings I sketched new ideas. In the afternoons I built toys. Evenings I packed and shipped orders. Weekends I could hike nearby trails or meet to run for coffee. I felt happy and calm, finally free to live my life my way. From friends and acquaintances I heard updates about the others. Zephyr tried to keep her online influencer work going. She made more budget-friendly posts like drugstore makeup routines at home. But without fancy trips and expensive backdrops, fewer people followed her. Brands canceled deals when her engagement dropped. Eventually, she got a part-time job at a small cosmetics counter. She showed products and rang up sales. It paid for a small apartment she shared with a roommate. My parents sold the big house after probation and restitution were finished. They moved into a one-bedroom rental in a less nice part of town. It was simple and affordable. Dad worked night security at a warehouse with no benefits. Mom cleaned hotel rooms early in the morning, which left her very tired. They did normal daily things like packing lunches and taking the bus when the car broke down. No more eating out or buying things on impulse. Life became much smaller and stricter for them. I never reached out to them. I blocked their phone numbers, unfollowed them online, and stayed firm. The no-contact order helped, but even without it, I would have kept the distance. Turan asked once if I felt guilty watching them from afar. I thought about it. Well, I didn't make their choices. I only stopped helping them take advantage of me. I could focus on my life and work without their drama. My new workshop smelled of fresh sawdust and varnish every day. Shelves were full of finished toys waiting to be shipped. Clients sent thank you emails and deposits came on time. One evening, I finished carving a rocking horse with detailed hand-carved parts. I stepped back and looked around. Everything in the workshop was mine. Every tool, every toy, every choice, built by my own hands and decisions. I wasn't trying to get revenge. I didn't want them to suffer. I just wanted a life where my hard work went toward my own dreams. Family should be about respect and helping each other, not about one person giving everything while others take. When respect is gone, staying only hurts you. Leaving was hard. I felt sad sometimes, but it was the right choice. I built something new on my own terms. And building that new life full of my own work and creativity has been the best part of all. Now I wake up excited to work every day. I think about new toys to design. I imagine happy kids playing with puzzles I made. I feel proud of what I've built, not because it was easy but because I did it myself. My hands, my brain, my choices made all of it possible. I am free to create, free to work hard, free to live a life where I matter. And every time I finish a toy and put it on the shelf, I remember why I left. I left not because I hated anyone but because I wanted my life to mean something. I wanted my effort to go toward my dreams, not to fix the mistakes of others. And for the first time it really does.